Good morning everyone and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. My name's Manley and I'd just like to thank you for looking at my video. Actually no, it's Matthew, and I'm here with the LG4L Gaming Network bringing you another video on Kerbal Space Program version 0.23. This is the career mode, and if you've been following my videos so far you'll have noticed that we've got to the moon and back. And now in this mission I've upgraded the ship just a little bit, and I'm going to show you how to get to Minmus and back. So turning on the RCS and the SAS, taking off. We've got Jebediah in the cockpit. Still manned flights at this stage. I'm confident of bringing them back, so nothing to worry about on that score. If we can, we'll attain lots of science data to unlock even more goodies in the career mode. But we'll have to see how we get on. I'm pretty confident. As you can see at the moment, I've got 7 liquid fuel boosters firing on all cylinders to attain the requisite velocity to escape or to enter the orbit of Kerbin. I'm going to look for a nice stable circular orbit and then transition from there to Minmus. Just taking a look here and taking some data on board. It's not much, only 3.5 data or science, but yeah, it's something and it all adds up. Might as well get anything out of the way that I can, at least that I can think of, and then get the rest of it when we're out in space. See if I can recover that. I've got 17.5 science. So let's just keep that for now. The usual procedure is taking place here. I got to about 10,000 meters, sometimes less, and tilted my rocket 90 degrees to the right, so I can go around Kerbin in a clockwise fashion. If you look at the bottom gyroscope, the ball at the bottom of the center of the screen, my little orange marker is right over the 90 degree angle. So yeah, I mean, you can see we're gaining a good velocity now. It's slow and steady with these boosters. I haven't unlocked massive amounts of power yet, but thankfully I've got enough fuel and enough boost to actually attain a good speed. Now I'm trying to get to the map screen, and there's always a bit of a lag here for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. Hopefully they'll iron that out in the final version. It's quite remarkable to think this game's only in version 0.23. It's not even a full one, full one release yet. It's still in beta. Very impressive piece of software. I love it. The physics are very accurate. So anyway, here I am just creating my circular-ish orbit around Kerbin. As long as it's circular, it can make roughly circular, then it can make transitioning to any of the other planets you're aiming for a bit easier. So yeah, as you can see, I'm going to need to change my delta V, or change my velocity, roughly 1,000 meters per second, or it's going to have to change by to 1,000 meters per second. So in 2 minutes or so, I'm gonna have to speed it up so it gets a bit quicker, and we can get to that burn point. We're nearly there. If you don't know the buttons by now, have you not been listening to my my videos? The buttons to increase the time, which you can see in the top left-hand corner of the screen, are the full stop and the comma buttons. So comma slows it down, full stop speeds it up. Just have a little play around with them, see how fast they accelerate time. When you're on the full acceleration of time, so 8 of those little arrows in the top left-hand corner, each second equates to about a day. So when you're on long journeys, you want to increase that to its maximum. Now my delta V is decreasing slightly here, getting down to 350. I've just gone over my node in T time, but it's not really important. Like I said, as long as I get a roughly circular orbit. When fuel is at premium, and you're not going to have enough fuel, that's when you need to be very precise. But for something like this, to get to Minmus, with the experience I've got, it's not too difficult, and hopefully you'll be able to follow along and get yourself there to Minmus. Hopefully you're all keeping well and finding these videos informative and helpful. What I'm doing here is changing the plane of my orbit around Kerbin, or yeah, the plane of my orbit basically. So you could see it was 6.2 degrees. We want to get that as close to 0 as possible. You can see that by looking at the little green arrows where it says AN and DN, and drag the orange little markers as far as necessary in order to decrease the AN and DN to 0.0, or as close as you can get to it. The reason for that is to make your transition or your encounter with the planet you're aiming for a lot simpler. So there we go. Just going to speed up time so you can see I've moved my little orange reticule over the blue marker on the gyro ball at the bottom center of the screen, and now I'm increasing my velocity in order to change my planar orbit. And the DN and AN are decreasing now, as you can see, to 0.6, minus 0.6, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, and that's roughly right, to within a few degrees of accuracy anyway. That's good enough for getting an encounter with Minmus. Alright, now I'm just gonna have a little fiddle around with these nodes now to try and get my encounter with Minmus. As you can see, it creates an orange line towards where Minmus is. Minmus is that big green line, and the orange dotted line is my projected maneuver, where I'll be heading towards if I complete the maneuver I'm aiming for. Hopefully that makes sense and you're understanding from the previous videos exactly what I'm doing. If not, please check them out and leave me any feedback as well. I really want to know what you guys think. If you're finding them helpful, if there's anything else you want me to cover, feel free, give me that feedback and I'll be more than willing to help. There we go. So that's very close to attaining an encounter. So I'm just dragging it ever so slowly now. Trying to get that encounter. There we go. And what you want to do is get that orange line inside this big greeny yellow line, because hopefully it'll become clear. But if you go outside the green line, then your encounter with Minmus will be on the way back towards Kerbin. And that will increase your velocity, and therefore you'll need to change your delta V by quite a lot in order to get a slow enough encounter with Minmus to be dragged in by its gravity. It's pretty difficult to explain. Basically, Kerbin, although you're far away from Kerbin and you'll be much closer to Minmus, the gravity of Kerbin is such that the acceleration you'll receive from putting your orange line outside this orbit of Minmus will be such that it will just be a waste of fuel in order to get the encounter. So like I said, you really want to get this orange dotted line within the yellow green line representing the orbit of Minmus, and that will, as you get further away from Kerbin, its gravitational effect will be decreasing, but it'll also act as a natural brake, so it will slow you down the closer you get to Minmus. So it's actually the most optimum way of getting an encounter with the planet. As you can see, I've not done particularly well on this encounter, but as long as we get it, that's the main thing. You need to really just take on board the ideas I'm giving you, and hopefully that's enough. So okay, as you can see, it's 4 days now until my encounter. So I'm speeding it up. I'm just going to make a slight alteration to my trajectory now because it wasn't quite what I wanted. So I'm just reducing my speed now by dragging that little greeny yellow icon with a cross through it. That's slowing my speed and bringing that orange dotted line within the orbit of Minmus. Got some wacky line going on here. I think it's just where the physics engine's not quite fully developed yet. But it's not important. So we've got 37 minutes roughly till my next maneuver. So let's speed up time as I explained to you before, using the full stop and comma keys. And when we get there, obviously have your node pointing towards the, or over the top of the blue marker on that gyroscope at the bottom center of the screen. And then power up, change your velocity as much as it says. And there we go, that's enough to correct my maneuver. It was only a tiny change in delta V. As you can see, my speed represented on that gyroscopic ball is actually decreasing, and that's what I was trying to explain. When you're still being pulled back by kerbin, so it acts as a natural brake. But when you're close, if you get a close enough encounter, then you'll be sucked into the orbit of Minmus at a low enough speed, so you don't need to have a huge amount of fuel in order to reach orbit or land on it or anything like that. So that's basically what I was aiming for. As you can see, we're getting really close now. You can see Minmus, the greeny yellow ball, creeping up. There's my spaceship right in the center of the screen, and there we go. That is going to be our new trajectory. If we carried on with time without changing anything, that would be our trajectory heading towards Minmus. At the periapsis of that encounter, so the closest point of the encounter, we'll create a maneuver in order to get a orbit around Minmus. It depends how you want to play it and what your speed is and stuff like that. You could go for a straight orbit, which would be shallow enough to make you effectively crash into the planet, and then you stop yourself crashing into it and eventually get the land in. Or you could do it in, which is the most efficient way, really, depending on several factors, such as whether it has an atmosphere and whether you can use air braking, so on and so forth. Minmus doesn't actually have an atmosphere and very low gravity, so I can't use any air braking, so it's purely going to have to be rocket power. As you can see, I've only got 219 liquid fuel left, but it should be enough. I should have a big enough delta V to potential delta V to carry off this mission, land on Minmus, and hopefully take off and return back to Kerbin. That way you gain maximum data. If you beam the data back, you only get a small percentage, maybe 20% of the actual data you've collected. So there we go. As I was saying, that's our maneuver. We've run out of fuel, so I'm just checking out my ship now. I love the vista, or the view you get when you switch back to rocket view, and you can see the planets and the sun behind you and stuff. I think it's just a really nice, relaxing game, this is. Alright, so now I'm just reducing my orbit again. And as you can see, my periapsis, the closest point of my approach, is 8,800 meters above Minmus, which is great. I really want to land on the sunny side of Minmus. So I'm creating a nice low orbit around. You can do an orbit, you know, sort of 5,000 meters, 6,000 meters around Minmus, which you couldn't do on Kerbin because Kerbin's gravitational effects are so strong. But as I said, Minmus has got very, very slight gravity, so you can do that. You can actually see Minmus spinning there. Anyway, I'm getting to the point where I need to do my maneuver. Let's just slow down time. Be careful when you're slowing down time not to overshoot the maneuver time. There we go. And as you can see, I'm going to need to change my speed or my velocity by 50.8 meters per second, which shouldn't be a problem. As usual, maneuver your orange-yellow reticule on the gyroscopic ball above the blue marker. But what I'm actually going to do is just take charge manually here without using any markers. I'm close enough to the planet to pick out a landing spot. You can see sort of different shades of green there. You can see sort of flat, they almost look like lake beds. They're the more flatter parts of Minmus, so I'm going to aim to land on one of those. So in order to do that, you just need to position your orange-yellow marker on the gyroscopic ball above that green-yellow marker, put a cross through it, and just reduce your horizontal velocity. If you reduce it enough, your ship will become virtually stationary and just start falling. As you can see, I'm about 8,800 meters above Minmus. I'm going to observe some mystery goo now. So as you can see, I'd get 40 data for that. The goo feels right at home here. Lovely. Going to transmit it. Although I won't get the full amount. Yeah, probably not then. Keep data. Yeah, I've got 2 mystery goos on board this ship. So use one up here, one down on the surface. Yeah, let's get a little EVA report. There's Jebediah hanging on for dear life on the edge of the rocket. There he is. Put him back in. Send the data back. I'm getting all of the data from that, so 100% of 32 science points, which is a nice amount. Go on, Jeb. You're alright, son. So I'm still 8,000 meters above the surface of Minmus, and pretty much just falling, gaining speed as I fall. You know, if you were over Kerbin, or Earth, in air quotes, then you'd be dragged down at 10 meters per second, which is the effects of gravity. But this has got maybe 0.1 meters per second, something like that. So you're virtually hovering above. And then it's just a case of sort of planning how you're going to land. How much do you need to decrease your speed by? I'm just speeding up time here so the descent is more rapid. You can take as long as you want. As long as you open your landing legs and decrease your speed. I always think a good rule of thumb is sort of between 3 and 4 meters per second. If you can get your speed of approach down to about that, then you usually land safely. Try to position. The key to landing is obviously, as I said before, moving that yellow-orange reticle or marker over the top of the greeny-yellow marker with the cross through it, and then that'll be your that'll be the right position to start firing your burner. As you can see, that's what I'm doing now. I'm just firing my rockets, decreasing my speed as I fall. Just being a bit overcautious here, you know, in my descent speed, because although I can see it now, you know, you have to be careful of mountainous regions. It can be difficult to see how high they are when you're up here. So yeah, particularly on the moon, I find Minmus. Yeah, I find it a lot easier, and you'll also find it a lot easier doing it on the lighter side, where the sun is shining on the face of the moon or the planet as well, which is what I've got here. It's ideal. You can put lights on your ship, obviously, to show the way, but they're not particularly powerful sort of at this height. They're more useful when you're on the ground or very close to the surface. So anyway, I'm having a look at the temperature. I've got my little temperature display. I'm not quite sure what that means. Does that mean the temperature's falling as I'm dropping? So it's like minus 17 degrees. I'm not quite sure there, but whatever. I'm going to take a proper temperature reading when I'm on the surface of it. I've still got 147 liquid fuel left. I've still got electric charge to send back my data. As you can see, I'm plummeting. I'm just allowing the ship to sort of gain a bit of speed as it falls now. Depends how patient you are, really. You could do this much, much, much slower, but I don't want to give you a huge, long video to follow without anything interesting happening. So, as long as you got the basics. So we're about 400 meters above the surface now. We're going quite quickly, but we should be fine. This rocket this rocket's powerful enough to fight the gravity of this planet. As I said, it's just so small. It's quite a big landing rocket I've got. I'm sure there's much more efficient ways of doing it, but in the career mode you've only got a limited number of parts as you unlock them, so I'm quite happy with the design of this ship. It's got everything I need on it: a ladder for Jeb to get out and explore, solar panels, it's got my mystery goo, a thermometer reader, parachute, antenna, landing legs. It's got everything I need. It's got fuel as well. So if you just take a look at the speed I'm approaching the surface, it's hovering around the sort of 4 meters per second. When you're this low, that's sort of a good rule of thumb to follow. If you can get it lower, 0.1 meters per second is obviously optimal, but obviously then it takes longer to get there. So landing's looking pretty smooth right now. Here we go. You can see the shadow forming on the planet, and 1.6 meters per second I get the landing. Beautiful. Alright, Jeb, time to get out and do your stuff. At this point, Jeb doesn't know if he's going to return. I don't know if he's going to return. But we're going to try. That's it, Jeb. Down to the surface, mate. Whee! So you can see how low the gravity is here. Like, he's sort of hopping almost across the planet from one leg. So, yeah, let's take some surface samples. Keep all this data. As I said before, you can transmit the data, but you're only getting sort of 20% roughly of the amount you're taking. So if you can recover it and fly back to Kerbin, then all's the better, I think. plant my flag here. Huzzah! Landed on Minmus. Yes, yes. Fair enough message, I think. Now, if you want to know how to control your little Kerbal on the surface of planets, just press R once or twice and you'll see him get out his little handles. There you go, for his rocket. And then the controls for that are Shift takes you up in the air, Control takes you down, and WASD to go forward, back, forwards, left, right. F obviously to grab onto the module of the rocket. Don't want him floating off into space. And he's boarded. And now let's think about taking off and getting back to Kerbin. I'm sure all the Kerbinauts will be happy to see Jeb back. He's everyone's favourite Kerbinaut. Let's observe the mystery goo. Recovery 50 science points. Nice. As you can see, it's a worthwhile mission doing this. We're getting loads of science points. Sorry about the jaggies on the shadows and stuff like that. I've got a really good, powerful computer system, but I don't know if this game is CPU limited or what. I'm not quite sure, but it's a bit laggy if you turn all the settings up. I've got an AMD Radeon 7950 graphics card with 3 GB of RAM and a Core i5 760 processor from Intel, so 8 GB of RAM also, so I shouldn't be having any problems graphically, but there we go. Like I said, it's an early build and really good fun, so I'm not going to let little jagged lines concern me. There we go, so basically I've just taken off on the surface now, flying sort of horizontally in order to create an orbit around Minmus. Once you've got that orbit, then it's just like around when you create your circular orbit around Kerbin. You can, at any point on that orbit, you can create a maneuver which will get you to where you want to go. So that's basically what I'm aiming for here. Create an orbit around Minmus, find a maneuver that gets me back into the gravitational pull of Kerbin, and then it's pretty much plain sailing from there. Don't need to worry about speed really on your return to Kerbin because of the thick atmosphere on Earth as well as Kerbin. You get significant air braking abilities, so returning's not too bad. You just need to make sure you've got enough fuel. And obviously we've discussed the gravity on Minmus and it's quite minimal, so escaping it is not fuel intense. So anyway, every time I try to click on Kerbin as my target, it brings up Safe Landing YouTube, which is one of my previous missions if you've seen my previous videos. But whatever, I could pretty much do this. But it's just as you try and create your maneuver to another planet, you obviously set it as a target in order to find out where the encounter is and stuff like that. That's basically what I'm doing here. It's just a reverse process. Setting Kerbin as my target, and then following your nose, just remembering all the rules where we create our maneuvers, get sucked into its gravitational pull, blah blah blah. So yeah. I'm sure the great Scott Manley would put that more eloquently, but you get my drift. Effectively, you're doing the same mission as when you're trying to get into the orbit path of a planet, but just doing it in reverse in order to land safely back at base with all your science points intact. Now, we're going to get loads of science points from this, so it's going to be fun to do the next mission because of all the new parts we'll have. Faffing about. Setting the moon as my target now, just to see that part's working correctly. If you do lose focus of your ship, this is one thing I learnt along the way, and don't panic, it can get a bit annoying if you don't know what button it is to return your focus to your ship, but all you have to do is press the backspace key while in this universe mode, or universe view. So as you can see here, I'm needing to change my delta V by only 32 meters per second in order to escape the surface and pull of Minmus, which is really good for us because we've only got 115 liquid fuel, which without any mods available you can't really tell how much delta V that has potentially, but I would say maybe 500 or 1000, so I'm sure we got plenty of fuel left for our return journey. The important point here is getting that escape marker here. So I'm just speeding up time to reach that escape point, and that orange line is basically showing the sort of orbit we'll be getting. And there we are. We're in like a big sort of stable orbit around Kerbin now. And then from here, we just create a maneuver node in order to. It almost looks like, you know, you're aiming to crash into the planet. But like I said, because of the air braking and atmosphere available on the planet, providing you don't speed up time ridiculously, which I've done before, you won't blow up on your approach. So yeah. And I'm aware I only need to change my velocity by 177.1 meters per second here in order to get this approach. So there's definitely going to be a return, and we will see Jeb in a future episode, thank God. Do not want to kill him. Especially not live on YouTube. That would not be cool. Anyway, guys, the date today is February the 10th, which means Valentine's Day is only 4 days away. Has anyone got any plans? Anyone got any special lady or man in their life? Get them a card, get them some chocolates, some flowers, all that good stuff. Jeb would. I bet he'd get Mrs. Jeb a nice present. What'd he get her? He could get her a Minmus rock. Bring her back a sample of Minmus. Look at that. I love the view you get there. The silhouette of the sun on the planets and stuff. It's just amazing. Anyway, here's my approach to Kerbin. We're so close. I mean, I'm just messing around with maneuvers here for the sake of it, but you can get it directly into the planet, no problem now. As you can see, my orange line, which is my future maneuver, is cutting straight through Minmus. You can make that as shallow. Shallow is better, so you're not sort of slamming into the planet. And that way, the shallower it is, you get the longest burn time through the atmosphere, maximizing the slowing effects of the atmosphere. But no, I'm confident we're going to land here. Just pulling off this maneuver here. I think that'll do. I'm happy with that. It's giving me a nice shallow entry to Kerbin. Speed up time here. You can see the orbit path of the moon there. Now this is cool. This is what I like to see. Like, you can see the moon. You can see Kerbin, the sun in the background with the little sort of lens flares coming off it. It's just amazing. And look at that. Can you imagine if you were an actual astronaut and coming back to Earth like that? Wow, what an amazing scene that would be. I wonder if they'll add dynamic weather effects to the planet. That'd be neat to sort of see hurricanes going on the planet and stuff like that. Or tornadoes. Anyway, I'm 115,000 meters above the surface now, so I'm just sort of rotating my rocket just for aesthetic purposes. Not really. It wouldn't cause me any damage if I fly in sideways or anything. I just want sort of the bottom of my rocket to sort of shield the effects of re-entry. God, Jeb, you got this, mate. 55,000. Now you look at my velocity towards the planet, and it's like 3,200 meters per second. You're thinking, damn, if he hits the surface at that speed, he's gonna die. But that's, like I said, where the atmospheric effects take place. And here you go. You can see it. You can see my rocket heating up. That's basically the atmosphere reacting against the outside of my rocket, slowing me down. Watch the speed of my descent. It's decreasing hugely. Massive G-forces being exhibited on Jeb, but he doesn't seem bothered. He's just looking around. He's like, yeah, whatever, I'm not bothered. So, yeah, 500 meters per second and decreasing even more. Once you get to sort of about 200 meters per second, I think, not quite sure. I think it's about 200 meters per second. You're safe to open your parachute. But, if you do it at a velocity much higher than that, and it will just rip off. And obviously you'll crash then, so, yeah. Just be aware of that. Look at Jeb's face. He looks well happy. Go on, Jeb. You're alright, mate. You're going to make it. Don't panic. I've even got fuel left to sort of slow my descent even more. So there we go. I'm just still haven't opened my parachute. At 500 meters for this particular parachute is when it's when it will actually deploy. So just wait, press the space bar, and boom, out it comes. Now we just plummet slowly to the surface. Normally I land in the ocean, but I'm landing on if I land in the ocean at this speed, that's fine. But I'm not confident of landing on the surface of the planet at sort of 12 meters per second. And so I'm just going to use the excess rocket fuel I've got here to slow me down even further. Do not want this whole journey to have been wasted. So let's descend slowly. Sort of 4 meters per second we landed at. Nice. Even though we've tipped over, that's not a problem. It's not ideal, but yeah, we just do the whole recovery procedure. Go back to Space Center. And I'll show you that. And I'll show you the things I'm going to unlock as well. Just so you can follow me. You don't need to unlock the same things, but for completion's sake, I will show you what I'm going to get. Oh, it's night time back at base. Lovely jubbly. Right, focusing on kerbin. Now for some reason, again, this takes a while to sort of click on things, which is frustrating, but don't do what I've just done and click on something twice, because that will take you back to where it is. There we go, you can see my rocket again. Let's go to Space Center. Just go back to the recovery, or the sort of mission view here, and then just click on your rocket once in the left hand panel, then press recover, and as you can see, 357.5 science earned on this mission. So that is the benefits of, you know, keeping all the science rather than beaming it back, because we would have got maybe 100 or less science had we beamed it back. So if you can return, those science points are much more valuable, and it will speed up your progression through the career system. So here we go, let's take a look at what we can unlock then. Heavy rocketry, yeah, why not? I think I'll get that. Let's take a look at what we get. Yes, I think we'll have that. Fuel systems, that looks good. Gives you sort of the fuel pipes and stuff, so you can create much more efficient ways of utilizing the liquid fuel you've got on your rocket. What else should we get here? Advanced flight control. Yeah. Precision engineering. Yeah, that's so you can build smaller stuff. Let's unlock that as a part. Or yeah, like that. Oh, I've only got 81 science points. And the other things are 90 science points. Damn it. Oh well. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video and it's been informative. I'll see you very shortly on the next one. Take care. Goodbye.